We think of childhood as life's spring. It's a season of growth, of possibilities, of hope. But what happens when that spring is stolen before it even gets a chance to bloom? Today, we're going to dive into Anise Young's incredible book, Lost Spring, and get to know two young boys in India. And through their stories, we'll start to understand the tough realities of poverty and tradition that can steal that vibrant season of life. Wow. I mean, just listen to that sentence. It really hits you, doesn't it? That's a quote from one of the boys we're about to meet, and it just captures everything: the struggle, the dirt, but also that little flicker of hope. This is the voice of a kid whose treasure hunt happens in a garbage dump. And that voice? It belongs to a boy named Saheb. His story is the first one we're going to explore, and it kicks off with this pretty huge irony. His name means Lord of the Universe, but he's a boy whose entire world is a mountain of trash. So this is Saheb's reality. Every single morning, he's out there roaming the garbage dumps of Simapuri, which is a settlement right on the edge of Delhi. He and his friends are rag pickers, and they're on a daily hunt for what they actually call gold. Coins, old shoes, anything at all they can find that's valuable enough to help them survive one more day. And this is where that irony just gets so powerful. His full name, Sahib-e-Alam, literally means Lord of the Universe. Now, he carries this grand, epic name, but he has no clue what it means. And if he did, well, you can imagine he'd have a pretty hard time believing it as he spends his days barefoot digging through other people's garbage. That contrast says so much, all on its own. What's really interesting is how different people see the garbage. For the adults in Simapuri, it's pretty simple. It's their daily bread. It's how they survive. It's what keeps a roof, no matter how flimsy, over their heads. But for kids like Saheb, it's something totally different. For them, it's all wrapped up in wonder. It's this place where you just might find a rupee, maybe even a 10-rupee note. It's a treasure hunt that's born out of pure necessity. So, how did they even get here? Well, his family, just like thousands of other rag pickers in Simapuri, came from Bangladesh decades ago. His mom tells him stories about the beautiful green fields they used to have, fields that kept getting washed away by storms over and over again. They came to the big city just to survive. And for them, having food in your stomach is way more important than having an identity. The author shares this one little story that just perfectly explains this idea of perpetual poverty. She remembers this boy from a town called Udupi who used to pray at a temple every single day for a pair of shoes. 30 years go by, and she visits that same temple. This time, she sees the new priest's son, and he's wearing shoes and a school uniform. So for some people, things got better. But for so many others, like the barefoot kids in Simapuri, that kind of progress it's a world away. But then, something changes in Saheb's story. A pretty big shift happens in his life, one that you'd think is a step up. And it all comes down to this one number: 800 rupees. So Saheb lands a job at a tea stall just down the road. He gets paid 800 rupees a month, plus all his meals. Now on paper, that sounds great, right? It's stability. It's a guaranteed income. But the author notices something immediately. That carefree look he used to have on his face, it's gone. And this contrast just brilliantly explains what he's lost. See, his old plastic bag for rag picking, that was his. It was light, he was his own boss, he could go wherever he wanted. But this new steel canister he carries for the tea stall, it belongs to someone else. And somehow it feels so much heavier than his bag ever did. Saheb is no longer his own master. All right, so let's shift gears and move to our second story. This one builds on that same theme of a stolen childhood, but in a totally different setting. Now we're going to meet Mukesh, a kid who insists on being his own master and who dares to have a dream in a place that seems designed to crush them. And this is his dream. It's that simple. When the author asks him what he wants to do, he doesn't even hesitate. He looks her straight in the eye and just announces, "I will be a motor mechanic." And his dream, as she describes it, kind of shimmers like a mirage in the dusty streets of his town. And this is that town, Firozabad. This place is famous across all of India for one thing and one thing only: making glass bangles. For generations, pretty much every family here has been locked into this one, single, very dangerous trade. And the reality of this work, it's brutal. You have generations of families working around these incredibly hot furnaces in these dark little rooms with no fresh air, no light. An estimated 20,000 kids are working here illegally, welding pieces of colored glass.
Their eyes get so used to the dark that they often start losing their eyesight before they even become adults.
So you have to ask, why do they stay? What makes Mukesh's dreams so rebellious? Well, his grandmother kind of gives us the answer. She says it is his kadam, his destiny. I mean, she watched her own husband go blind from the dust from polishing glass. But to her, being born a bangle maker is a God-given lineage. And in her mind, how can you ever break that?
And that mindset, that belief in destiny, it's really just one part of a much bigger system that keeps these families trapped. The author calls it a vicious circle, and it's designed to trap not just one person, but entire generations. Because it is more than just tradition. It's a whole conspiracy of forces. It's the constant worry about not having enough money to eat, let alone to dream. It's years of work so mind-numbing that it just kills any initiative you might have. And it's a trap set by middlemen, police, and politicians who exploit these families and make sure they can never organize or ask for anything better. So, what this all really boils down to is that choice is an illusion here. This baggage, this combined weight of poverty and what your family has always done, is put on a child's shoulders the moment they're born, long before they even know that another kind of life could be possible. So, all of this, Sahab's story and the garbage dumps, Mukesh's and the glass furnaces, it all brings us back to the central, really devastating question of the book. What does it actually mean to lose your spring? You know, spring is supposed to be that season of blooming, of new potential, of joyful growth. But for these kids, there is no spring. Childhood isn't a time for freedom and play and school. It's a time for hard labor and just trying to survive. It's a whole season of their life that's just gone before it ever really had a chance to begin. The author begins her story about Saheb by making a casual throwaway promise to start a school for him. A promise she even admits that's just like so many others made to children in their world. And it leaves us with this final, really powerful thought. We talk all the time about broken promises, but what are the consequences for all of us when childhood itself becomes the most fundamental broken promise of all?